Hi, I'm Van Phillips, European Tour winner and PGA coach, and today's lesson is going to be all about concentration and how to focus. Now, I know nobody wants to talk about that. We all want to be obsessed with video, TrackMan, pressure plates, what's happening with our swing plane. Let me tell you, through personal experience of playing this game for a living, the number one determining factor of success or failure is how well we use this. Tune in, you're going to learn exactly how to do that. Okay, so let's get stuck in. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, there are three areas that we need to cover. Okay, we have the information gathering phase. Okay, so when we arrive at the ball, we've got to gather information. Okay, what is that information? Critical questions that you must ask yourself. Where is the wind direction and what strength is the wind? Okay, very important question. Is it hurting you? Is it helping you? Left, right. Okay, how strong is it? Okay, as a rough rule of thumb, or as a guideline for you, 10 miles an hour of wind strength equates to one club, generally speaking. Okay, as a nice rough estimation for you, so that's going to help you with your club decision. Now, I can't stress enough that for any of these phases that I'm going to go through now, beginning with this information gathering phase, if you don't know how far you hit each club, it's going to be a complete waste of time. So please go onto the range, or when you're on the golf course, take every opportunity whenever you hit a shot well from the middle of the club and you feel that sweet sensation through impact, please find out how far that ball went with every club in your bag. It can take several weeks at times to get this information, but get the information. How far do you hit it? Write it down, make a note of it, otherwise you'll never be able to play to your ability. Okay, if we want to play like a pro, we have to behave like a pro, so get your yardages. Okay, so where is the wind coming from? Question number one, what strength is the wind? How is the ball lying? Is the ball lying down? Is it sitting up high? Have you got some grass behind the ball that's going to get between your club and the ball? All these vital questions. Assess the lie of the ball. Okay, how far are you from the flag? So I talked about distance there. If you don't know how far you hit it, it's not going to be a great question to ask yourself. You're not going to get much from it. But if you know how far you hit each club, knowing the exact distance, absolutely vital. Don't make an estimation, don't guess. Too many amateurs walk up to the ball and just take a look at the flag and they say, oh, it's about 155 yards. That's no good. Okay, know how far you hit it, know how far you are away from the flag. So key questions in the information gathering phase. That's phase one. Okay, phase two, based on that information, you've got to make a decision, haven't you? So looking at the lie, looking at the wind, looking at your distance from the hole, what club are you going to take? What shot type are you going to hit? Are you going to try and draw it? Are you going to try and fade it? Are you going to try and hit it high? Are you going to try and hit it low? You've got to make a decision, and you've got to be decisive. Okay, so once you've taken all that information on board, you've decided on a shot type, you're going to commit to that 100%. And the third and final stage is the execution phase. Okay, now when we get into the execution phase, and that's what I'm going to go into in the next section in this video, there's one all-encompassing factor. So I'm going to talk you through in the next stage of this video different ways to execute, different ways to focus your mind. But whichever one that you choose, whichever one you decide works best for you, there's one common denominator, and that is self-talk. Okay, so once you've asked yourself all the questions about once you've gathered the information, you've made a decision, you've got to talk yourself through the shot. Okay, so in the next phase of this video, I'm going to get into how you focus, give you some choices, but you must talk yourself through each shot making phase. I'm going to get into that in the next phase of this video. Okay, we're into the execution phase now. Now we've got some options. How do we focus? Okay, the all important question. Everybody tells you to concentrate. Everybody tells you you've got to be focused when you play golf. How do you do that? Okay, well again for me there's two basic ways. We can focus internally or we can focus externally. Now if you you read a textbook, there are many more definitions, but knowing those names and terminology is not going to help you get better. So let's be simple about this. You're either going to think internally, or you're going to think externally. So let's start off with internal focus. Now, I stressed self-talk in the earlier phase of this video. So self-talk is the common denominator. Whichever way you learn to focus, self-talk is absolutely critical. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, let's say I've gone through the information gathering phase, I've made a decision, and this shot I'm going to attempt now, I've got some wind blowing in my face. It's 190 yards, so I know how far it is away. Normally from 190 I would take a 5-iron, but because of this wind blowing against me and it's around 10 miles an hour in strength, I'm going to go to a 4-iron. So I've made a nice decision based on some decent information gathering there. Now I've also decided, because that wind is in my face, I'd like to bring the ball flight down a little bit. So I've got to now talk myself through, how do I do that? Okay, so as I'm approaching this ball, I am literally in my mind talking myself through, how do I bring the ball flight down? What do I need to do? Now, go and watch my video on bringing the ball flight down. How do I hit a low iron shot? Low, low, low is the thumbnail. So in that video I talk about needing to move the ball back in my stance. So as I walk up to this 4-iron, I'm literally telling myself, I'm reminding myself, okay Van, I'm going to move the ball back in my stance. I'm talking myself through step by step the execution of this shot. I'm going to move that ball back a little bit. First thing I'm going to do, because I've moved the ball back a little bit, I'm going to aim slightly to the left because my swing path is going to be a little bit more out to the right. Again, go watch my video on how to hit it low where I go through all this stuff. But what I'm teaching you here is it's so important to talk yourself through the shot you're going to hit, okay? Now finally, when I've got to the actual point where I've set up how I'd like to, I've made those adjustments for the shot that I've chosen, I've got to choose a focus. Now in this particular shot, I'm going to choose an internal focus. What is that? Well, an internal focus is anything to do with how you're moving your body, a body part if you like. Okay, so I'm going to decide, once I've moved the ball back, I've made my setup change, going to aim slightly left, I'm then going to completely free my mind of those thoughts. I've taken care of those setup issues, and I'm going to focus 100% on one body part and one movement. And for me, just for the purposes of this video, I'm going to focus on my right hip motion. I want to observe whether I rotate my right hip in the backswing. I don't want to feel like I lock that hip. I don't want to sway the hips. I want to feel some hip rotation in the backswing. So that's my internal focus point. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to sort of talk out loud as I do it to illustrate that self-talk process. Okay, so I've made the wind decision. I know how far away I am from the hole. I'm going to talk myself through those setup factors now. Okay, Van, so we need to move the ball back a little bit in the stance to lower that ball flight. Good, I've got it lined up with my rear pec, centre of my rear pec. Okay, Van, just shift that stance and shoulder line a little bit to the left there. Good, so this is what would be going on internally in my mind, my self-talk. Good, I've done that. Okay, right, Van. Now, focus, observe. I'm just going to observe my right hip, setting up beautifully. Okay, here we go, right hip. Observation, right hip rotation. Then I'm going to reflect on that for a few seconds. That was a lovely execution, by the way. Low ball flight, really observed the nice rotation in the right hip. Talk myself through that again. Self-talk important after the shot. Please go and watch my best ever practice strategies video series where I talk through the reflection phase of a shot. But here in this video, so I've gone through there the self-talk of the setup changes that I was going to make. This is all going on in my mind. I'm talking to myself in my mind. You're not crazy if you talk to yourself, okay? It's absolutely vital if you're going to be a great player to have internal dialogue. So self-talk was critical there. Then I had this internal focus. Once I talked myself through the phases of the setup, I then switched my mind to a very internal focus of that right hip. I just observed that one thing, then I reflected on it. Fantastic. So that's the first method of focus. That's one option. Okay, next phase I'm going to get into some external ways to focus. Okay, let's get into some external focus methods here. So again, as I said, the common denominator with any way of focusing is the self-talk. Okay, so again, I'm faced with the same shot. I've got 190 shot, it's into the wind. I've gone up a club from a 5 to a 4 because of the wind. I'm going to knock the ball flight down. I'm going to talk myself through those ways of setting up to knock that ball flight down again. But this time, instead of focusing internally on right hip rotation, I'm going to pick an external focus point, okay, and that's going to be the target for me this time. So as I'm walking into the ball and I've gone through the self-talk, I'm ready to pull the trigger. I'm looking at the golf ball, but in my mind I'm just imagining the target. I'm just seeing the target in my mind like an imprint, okay, like a strong visual memory. I'm imprinting the vision of the flag in my mind, and my mind is only observing that vision of the flag. So I've got absolutely nothing else in my mind except the image of the target, okay, and we would call that an external focus point. I'm just going to go ahead, make my swing only imagining the flag in my mind, okay, very strong external focus. Let's go ahead. Same thing, okay, Van. Low shot, so we need to move that ball back in the stance a little bit opposite the centre of the rear pec. Good, I've got that done. Just shifting my feet a little bit to the left because I know my swing path is going to go to the right. Good, that's done. Okay, fantastic, I'm ready to go. Just looking at the flag now, getting a real picture of the flag. I'm looking up, I'm burning the image of the flag in my mind. Okay, now I can only see the flag in my mind. Similar execution, I got a little bit more draw on that than I would have liked. So I'm going to reflect on that for a few seconds. Okay, what did that feel like? Why did I feel the ball drew a bit more to the left? Yeah, I possibly felt the face rotate a little bit into impact there. Good, I've logged that away, I've reflected on it again. Go and watch my best ever practice strategy video series. But I had a completely different focus point when I was over the ball. That was an external focus. Now, I have to stress, there isn't a right and a wrong way here. You have to go on the range, again, watch that best ever practice strategy video series. You have to go through these processes, log the results, and you have to decide over time which method of focus works best for you. Okay, another external focus method. Again, I'd go through the whole self-talk process. I'm not going to go through that again on this particular shot. I think you've got the gist of that now. Talk yourself through the phases of a shot like I have done there. Once you've talked yourself through up to the point where you're going to pull the trigger, that's when you've got to decide, am I focusing internally or externally? Second way to externally focus now would be, instead of thinking about the target, I'm literally going to focus on the back of the golf ball. That is going to fill my mind, I'm going to consume my mind with the image, and I'm going to try and be really specific. I'm going to pick one dimple on the ball, and my only thought is to focus on the dimple on the back of that ball, and obviously my intention is to strike that dimple with my golf club. That's going to consume the whole of my thoughts, the whole of my mind when I'm just about to pull the trigger. Nothing else is in my mind. Let's go ahead and have a go at that. I like that. Now, for me personally, I've been through all this obviously 1,000 times to find out which method of focus works best for me, and I've found over the years that having an internal focus, so having a focus on a body part or picking one specific movement that I've been working on and focusing on that solely in the execution phase, under pressure, that's proven to be the best form of focus for me. Now, just because that works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you. There are a lot of great players on the tour that have played fantastically well having an external focus, and in fact, based on research, external focus points generally have more success. So I go a little bit against the grain there. That's a good example of not fitting into what the textbooks say all the time. You've got to experiment in this game. It's an individual game. Hope you're enjoying these videos. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Head over to my website www.vanphillips.co.uk. There's over 60 videos there where I go into real depth and detail over prolonged video periods, 30-40 minutes at a time, where I get deep into the psychology of performance and every aspect of the game.